Hey everyone, welcome back to the English Prime podcast. I'm Erin and I'm Evan.
Glad to be here.
So imagine for a second that you walk into your absolute favorite restaurant, right?
Okay, I'm with you.
And you order their premium top tier combo meal. You pay top dollar for it and you're just incredibly excited.
Oh, for sure.
But then you finally sit down, you open the bag, and you realize they completely forgot the burger.
Ugh, the absolute worst.
Right. You're just staring into this like really expensive, completely empty cardboard box. And honestly, that is exactly how most of us treat the concept of success.
That's a really good analogy.
Yeah, I mean, we buy into the grind, we acquire the wealth, just assuming society will, throw in the happiness for free. But what happens when you finally open that bag and find it completely empty?
Well, it really is the defining paradox for high achievers today. Like, we hit all the prescribed financial targets, we get the promotions.
We buy the beautiful house.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And yet, that psychological finish line, it just keeps violently shifting further and further away into the horizon.
Yeah. So today's deep dive is centered on an incredibly powerful, reflective storytelling piece that completely dismantles this exact assumption. We're exploring the secret to contentment and specifically why trying to buy your way out of restlessness is mathematically and, well, psychologically doomed to fail.
It really is.
And to be clear with you, we aren't doing a basic, like, money can't buy happiness lecture here. You already know that. This is a shortcut to being genuinely well-informed about the specific traps ambitious people fall into, how we tragically miscalculate the exchange rate of our own lives, and what it actually takes to feel like you finally have enough.
The stakes here are remarkably high, too. We're talking about the actual texture of your daily existence.
Yeah, the day-to-day stuff.
Right. Because if we don't understand the mechanisms behind why we constantly chase more, we end up spending our most vital, energetic years running a race that is quite literally rigged against us from the starting gun.
Wow. Okay, let's unpack this. Starting with one of the most striking concepts from our source material. It's about the deepest misconception we have about our income.
The mirror concept.
Yes. The sources introduce this fascinating idea of using money as a false mirror. The premise is that we use our bank accounts, our salaries, or, our physical possessions as a tool to reflect back to us whether we're successful, whether we are valuable as human beings, or whether we are simply doing enough.
It is a profoundly distorted mirror, though.
How so?
Well, think about the mechanics of how a mirror actually works. When you use your salary as a reflection of your worth, you aren't actually looking at yourself.
Right.
You're immediately forced to look at the people standing around you. You look at what your peers earn, the cars your neighbors buy.
The exotic vacations your colleagues post online.
Exactly. You're constantly comparing your reflection to theirs.
And the moment you engage in that comparison, your own quiet joy suddenly feels, impossibly small.
It shrinks instantly.
Yeah. I want to pose a question about this mechanism, actually. Is comparing salaries just playing a rigged game where the rules are specifically designed to make you feel inadequate?
Basically, yes.
Because, you could be having a perfectly wonderful, relaxing weekend in your backyard. But the second you see someone else's lavish trip to the Amalfi Coast on your feed, your perfectly good weekend suddenly feels like a failure.
Oh, if we connect this to the bigger picture, we have to look at why tying personal value to a paycheck is such a dangerous psychological trap. True self-worth is entirely disconnected from financial income.
Entirely?
Yeah. When society equates wealth with moral superiority, or, on the flip side, lack of wealth with a moral failing, it creates this toxic environment of constant status anxiety.
Just constant pressure.
Right. It's what psychologists call the hedonic treadmill. You keep running faster just to stay in the exact same place emotionally.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Yeah, but the fundamental truth being ignored is that your inherent value as a person was never meant to be measured by some, numerical KPI.
The source material illustrates this beautifully, actually, with a specific anecdote. It describes a woman who earned very little money. Like, by any modern financial metric, she was barely getting by.
But she was happy.
Beyond happy. She had this quiet, unshakable confidence that just radiated from her. She spent her days growing various herbs in these small, humble terracotta pots on her windowsill.
I love that visual.
Me too. She'd brew tea from those herbs for her neighbors, and she'd talk to the local postman every day like he was her own family.
And notice the underlying mechanism of her happiness there. Her life was entirely unglamorous by modern, consumer-driven standards.
Totally.
But she never once looked in that financial mirror to question her own value. Why? Because her locus of evaluation was completely internal. rather than external.
Her confidence felt richer than any executive salary you could ever imagine.
Absolutely.
Your worth as a human being has never been about your income. You are a person to the people who love you. You aren't a number, and you are certainly not a paycheck.
Well said.
Thanks. But this brings up a crucial transition. If money doesn't buy that kind of personal worth or that deep-seated confidence, what does it actually buy?
That's the million-dollar question. It buys comfort, and that distinction is perhaps the most important concept in this entire deep dive. Money absolutely buys comfort, but comfort and contentment are entirely different psychological states.
Okay, I have to stop you there and push back on this a little bit.
Go for it.
I hear what you're saying about contentment being an internal state, but if my roof is leaking and my tires are bald and I'm stressed about affording groceries next week, no amount of emotional wholeness is going to fix my crippling anxiety.
Sure.
Isn't this distinction just a bit of a luxury mindset? Telling people that money doesn't matter feels a bit privileged when money is the exact thing required to survive.
That is a completely fair challenge, and it's vital we clarify this. Nobody is arguing that poverty or physical hardship is noble, or that financial struggle doesn't cause severe anxiety. It absolutely does.
Okay, yeah.
We have to define our terms carefully here. Baseline survival is one thing, but once survival is met, we enter the realm of comfort. Comfort is defined by the physical easing of friction in your life. It's the warm blanket on a freezing night. It's the roof that doesn't leak during a storm.
A reliable car.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a high-quality, perfectly brewed cup of coffee on a rainy Tuesday morning. Comfort is real, it's valuable, and money is exceptionally good at providing it.
So it's like a painkiller.
Yes. Think of comfort like pain medicine. It removes the physical ache of a hard life.
Yeah.
But contentment. Contentment is the daily vitamin. It is what actually builds your emotional immunity.
That analogy makes perfect sense. Comfort is the removal of physical friction, whereas contentment is the addition of emotional wholeness.
Bingo.
And the trap we fall into is that we mistakenly try to buy our way out of emotional restlessness using physical solutions.
I'll do it all the time.
We really do. We think, if I just upgrade my car or buy a softer couch, this underlying anxiety will just go away. But you can sit in the absolute softest, most expensive chair inside the most architecturally stunning, climate-controlled house and still feel completely agonizingly restless.
Precisely. Because you're applying the wrong medicine to the illness. Contentment is that quiet, grounding feeling of, this is enough.
Yeah.
That feeling only comes from connections, from shared experiences, and from a deep sense of belonging. It absolutely does not come from filling up online shopping carts.
The source material shares a contrasting story that nails this exact dynamic. The narrator talks about staying in a polished, five-star luxury hotel.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it was the pinnacle of physical comfort. The sheets were high thread count, the room was perfectly temperature controlled, the environment was completely pristine.
Sounds amazing on paper.
Right.
Right.
Yet sitting in that room, they felt entirely alone, disconnected, and deeply restless.
It's a sterile environment. It caters to every conceivable physical need, but it completely starves the emotional ones.
Contrast that with what happened later that same month. The narrator went to visit a close friend who lived in a tiny, cramped studio apartment. There was zero luxury. The space was tight. They cooked a simple, messy meal together. They laughed until their sides literally hurt.
I love that.
And when it was time to sleep, they just threw a mattress right onto the hard floor. Very little physical comfort. But the narrator notes that they slept infinitely better on that floor than they did in the luxury hotel bed.
Because the question we should be asking ourselves isn't, what can I buy to feel better?
What is it then?
The real question, the one that actually moves the needle on human happiness, is what do I already have that makes me feel whole?
Wow.
Yeah. The friend, the laughter, the shared meal that provided the emotional wholeness that the five-star hotel simply couldn't touch.
So if contentment comes from connection, from laughter, and from being fully present in those shared moments, what is the currency that actually buys those things? Because it clearly isn't money.
The currency is time. Time is the quietest, most unappreciated form of wealth.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because the math of how we spend our lives is deeply flawed. Every single dollar you earn costs you a portion of your time.
That's right.
And time is the one singular currency in the universe that never, ever comes back once you've spent it.
What's fascinating here is how effectively society conditions us to forget the actual exchange rate of our own labor.
Yeah, we just don't see it.
We're constantly surrounded by cultural whispers telling us that more is better, More success, more status, a bigger title, a nicer zip code.
Just keep climbing.
Exactly. But we rarely pause to evaluate the cold, hard math of what we are giving up to acquire that more. We're literally trading our finite, fleeting lifespans for things that, as we just established, don't bring us emotional wholeness.
I want you to really think about that exchange rate for a second. If you buy a $1,000 watch for status, you aren't just spending $1,000. You're spending the 20 or 30 hours of your actual life it took to earn that money.
It's sobering when you put it like that.
It is. Is that piece of metal on your wrist worth a day and a half of your existence on this planet? The author of our source material shares a deeply personal anecdote about this. They write about being young, highly ambitious, and caught in this exact trap.
A very common trap.
Very. They were saying yes to absolutely every career opportunity, working late nights, grinding constantly in the name of future success.
It's the classic blueprint for modern ambition. You put your head down and grind.
But then they had the sudden, terrifying realization. Months had gone by, entire seasons had changed, and they hadn't stopped to watch a single sunset.
Wow.
They wrote this line that genuinely gave me chills when I read it. They realized they were fully present in their meetings, but completely absent in their own life.
That is a devastating realization.
Yeah.
To be the star employee, the person everyone relies on at the office, but to simultaneously be a ghost in your own existence?
It's the ultimate irony. We work ourselves to the bone to buy things we plan to enjoy in some hypothetical future, but while we're doing that, we're letting the quiet, beautiful moments drift away right now.
Yeah, they just slip right past us.
A slow walk through the neighborhood, a deep conversation with a spouse. We trade away those irreplaceable hours to upgrade our clothes, our gadgets, and our furniture, mostly to signal our status to other people.
And status is the worst possible investment you can make with your time.
Seriously.
It fades almost immediately, and there is always someone standing next to you who has more. Instead of using your finite time to buy status, the source advocates for a radical shift. Use your financial resources to buy time back.
Buy time back.
Yes. Use your money to take a day off. Use it to say no to a project that will cause burnout. Use it to create actual breathable space in your life instead of filling every corner with more clutter.
Creating space instead of clutter. That requires a massive perspective shift, because to escape this trap of constantly chasing more, we have to stop and ask ourselves a much softer, much wiser question.
And what's that?
We have to look in the mirror, not the financial mirror, but a real one, and ask, what is enough?
Defining enough is perhaps the most rebellious act you can take in a consumer-driven culture. A culture that, relies on your perpetual dissatisfaction to keep the economy churning.
I want to ask you, the listener, right now, what does enough look like in your life? Have you ever actually sat down with a piece of paper and defined the boundaries of what you actually need to be happy?
Most people haven't.
No, because a lot of high achievers hear the word enough and they panic. They think it means being average or lacking ambition or giving up on their potential.
But that is a fundamental misunderstanding of the concept. Enough doesn't mean complacent. Enough means peaceful.
Peaceful, I like that.
It means you've drawn a deliberate boundary around your desires. You know exactly where to stop acquiring so that your actual joy doesn't get buried under the suffocating weight of managing too much.
The sources describe a man who embodied this perfectly. The author calls him the most content person they had ever met.
Oh, the guy with the bite.
Yes. This man lived in a very modest one-bedroom flat. He rode a secondhand bicycle everywhere he went. He had absolutely zero social media presence to compare himself to others.
Sounds incredibly freeing.
Doesn't it? But here is the secret to his wealth. Every single morning, he had the time to slowly, intentionally brew his coffee. He had the time to stand by his window and just watch the birds outside. He had the time to sit in silence and read poetry.
That was his meticulously defined version of enough. He had secured enough money to survive comfortably, but more importantly, he had reclaimed his time to actually live.
Yeah, he wasn't rushed.
He wasn't operating from a mindset of scarcity, constantly worried about what he was missing out on. He was operating from a place of abundance.
And there's this beautiful, almost magical secondary effect to understanding your own enough. When you hit that point and truly internalize it, it unlocks your ability to genuinely give to others.
That's a great point.
Because you aren't operating from that scarcity mindset anymore. You don't feel like giving something away diminishes you.
From a psychological standpoint, giving from a place of enough expands our happiness rather than shrinking it.
How does that work biologically?
Well, when acts of generosity are pure, they trigger a release of oxytocin and serotonin. the chemicals of connection and wholeness. This is vastly different from the fleeting dopamine hit of buying something new.
The source material provides an incredibly powerful image of this. A man is walking down the street during a sudden, heavy rainstorm.
Such a good story.
He has an umbrella, but he sees a stranger getting absolutely soaked on the corner. Without hesitating, the man walks over, hands his umbrella to the stranger, and just walks away into the pouring rain.
Incredible.
He's completely soaking wet, his clothes are ruined for the day, but he has this massive, genuine smile on his face.
The psychology behind that smile is profound. He didn't give the umbrella away because he had 3 extra ones in his bag and wouldn't miss it.
Right.
He gave it simply because he saw another human being in need, and he felt internally whole enough to sacrifice his own physical comfort for a moment to provide comfort to someone else.
When we lift someone else, we rise too. That small, spontaneous act of connection provided that man with a much more profound sense of emotional wholeness than earning a bonus check ever could.
Absolutely.
He exerted agency, he connected with another person, and he changed the texture of both of their days.
But notice the prerequisite for that moment. To even see the stranger shivering in the rain, the man had to be looking up.
Oh, wow, yeah.
He had to have the bandwidth to actually notice the world around him. Which brings us to how we treat the present moment and how we actually apply all of this to our daily routines.
Noticing the now, finding happiness in the ordinary. Because once you establish your boundaries around what is enough and you reclaim your time from the endless chase for status, you finally have the mental and emotional bandwidth to just be present.
And this is where the philosophy of the source material truly lands. We spend so much time optimizing our lives, looking for biohacks or financial strategies to maximize our future happiness.
That we completely ignore the present.
Exactly. We completely ignore the small, seemingly ordinary moments that money is entirely incapable of buying.
The source makes a compelling argument that happiness usually lives in the exact places we consistently forget to look. We're out there looking for it in the promotion, the new house, the exotic vacation.
But it's not there.
No, it's actually hiding in the quiet hum of the morning before the rest of the house wakes up. It's in the warmth radiating from that first sip of tea. It's in the specific sound of a loved one laughing at a really terrible joke you just told.
We brush past these things because we're conditioned to view them as insignificant. We dismiss them as small. But the truth is, these moments aren't small at all. They are the actual tangible texture of your life.
Yeah.
When you look back at the end of your life, you won't remember the quarterly earnings reports. You'll remember the laughter in that cramped studio apartment.
So what does this all mean? It means that the ultimate secret to contentment, the big reveal we've been building toward this entire deep dive, isn't a complex formula.
It's really not.
It isn't a secret investment strategy. The secret to contentment is active presence.
Joy blooms entirely without effort when you are actively present. And I think that's a very difficult pill for ambitious people to swallow.
Why is that?
Because real happiness doesn't need to be chased down, wrestled to the ground, and earned like a trophy. Sometimes it just needs to be noticed. It is already sitting right there in your living room, waiting for you to stop calculating your future and just pay attention to it.
I think that's exactly it. High achievers struggle with the idea that you don't have to earn contentment through suffering or grinding. They think if it isn't hard, it isn't valuable.
This raises an important question, though, and I want to challenge everyone listening to really reflect on this. How much of your daily life are you completely missing because your focus is entirely locked on a hypothetical future?
Such a tough question.
If your eyes are always fixed on the horizon, you're walking blindly through the present.
Walking blindly through the present, that perfectly encapsulates the danger of the endless chase. Let's take a breath and recap the incredible journey we've taken through these sources today. We started by smashing the false mirror of money, realizing that your personal worth is completely detached from the numbers in your bank account.
Right.
Then we dug into the crucial distinction between the physical, frictionless ease of comfort and the deep emotional wholeness of contentment.
From there, we recognize that time, not money, is the quietest, most valuable form of wealth we possess.
So true.
And we discuss the importance of using that wealth to buy space in our lives rather than fleeting status.
We challenged ourselves to ask the hardest question of all, defining our own personal enough, which frees us up from the scarcity mindset and allows us to experience the pure joy of giving to others.
That's where the real joy is.
And finally, we learned that true happiness isn't something you acquire in the future. It's found by anchoring yourself in the present and actively noticing the beautifully ordinary moments that are happening around you right now.
It is a radical, life-altering shift in perspective. And to leave you with a final lingering thought to mull over long after this deep dive ends, if time is truly the quietest form of wealth, and contentment comes entirely from noticing the small things around you, what is one ordinary moment you completely ignored today simply because you were too busy calculating your own worth?
That is a profound question and definitely one worth sitting with today. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Take a deep breath, look around you, notice the ordinary, and truly enjoy the rest of your day. We'll catch you next time.